Okay, so you got Twilight Render installed on your computer. Inside your Sketchup, the tools are available to you. You got a spherical sky turned on so that it looks like $1,000,000 in your background. Now, let's learn how to use the lighting tools inside um, Twilight Render. I'm sharing my screen so we can go back and check out what's going on in here. Um, what I've done is just made a big fat box. You can see here that I put Semele inside of. I want to make sure that I can control exactly how much light is coming in so I can see what's happening with my renders. So what I did was build this thing, hide the front wall, control hide, go inside, and then I'll go back to edit and unhide all. And what that does is turn that wall back on behind me. Now I'm inside the box with Semele. I did also set a scene. I want to have one particular spot where I can be that will show me the same view as I change things around. A couple of things that are useful to you to know is that if you can't see from inside here, if you grab your magnifying glass and hold down your shift key, you can change the angle of view. See the view down there in the bottom? So you can make it bigger or smaller and get a kind of a perspective, a better perspective on what's going on inside your model. If it gets too high, it starts to look pretty weird. So be cautious of that. But that's a way to be able to see what's going on. The scene that I set, you can use the scenes window, as you know, scenes right there. Whoop, there it is. Or you can go back over here to view animation, and inside here you can add a scene as well. So that will give you that button, and then you can just type scene 1 and it takes you right back to the same place that you had before. That's not what we're doing though. We're looking at how to put lights in. I'm going to grab my lighting tool right here. That's the render button. We're going to look at that in a second. We've already used the environment editor to put spherical sky in. Now what we're doing is putting in a light. So I just click the light tool and it comes in here and it already says you must want to do something with lights. So, and I do. I'm going to come into this area and let's just put a light in the ceiling right here. A light is 3 clicks. There's an anchor, a position, and a target. So let's do that right now. I'm going to click here and say I want to anchor it right there. Position is maybe a little bit below that, and then the target is way down here on the ground. So then it turns into this shape. That is a point light. That's what a point light looks like when you build it in the Twilight Hobby that we've got installed in SketchUp. You can name it, so we're going to call it light number 1, and right now it's set to a bunch of stuff. We probably don't have to worry about attenuation. You can make it bigger if you want to. You can have a 4-inch light bulb. You can change the power to say 300 watts because we're in a big space. That's a 20-foot drop. So a bunch of other things, the control of it, things like that. So, but this is the type is a point light. So we're going to look at point lights and spotlights. Those are the two that we're going to look at. And even this point light, I can say it's an incandescent or it's a quartz halogen, it's fluorescent, it's a compact fluorescent. So there's lots of controls here. But let's just see how this looks. I'm going to type my scene 1, goes back till I can see the whole thing. So that right now, that light is, I'm going to turn it on, and it will show me what that's going to look like. I'm using this little window here. You can change that if you'd rather see, what would that look like in an office if I was in a whole room? And it'll show me what that point light will look like up there. But here's the real nice thing. I can look at a render. So this button right here in the tools will show me a rendering of this thing. Rendering is a slow process, and it sucks up the power on your computer like mad. So just be aware, when you start rendering, you're going to find your computer fan going. So just be ready for that. Render preset, I've set it to very low, just to be able to go quickly. If you find yourself wanting to do a really high-end rendering, you'll probably want to use like 8 or 9, something like that. Those are progressive renders, which means that they'll just run until doomsday, and you have to decide when to say, stop already, enough, it's cool. But I'm going to use a low one here just to be able to show you quickly. And I'm also leaving my size of the final image fairly small, 800 by 600. When you're done, you're probably going to want to run something like 720, and it will keep that same aspect ratio. But let's just hit this little green arrow right now and say, what would this look like if that's all I had? I've got a window going in here. There you go. I've got a 300 watt point light up in the ceiling, and that's the only light in this whole space. So then you can see how that works there. Okay, I'm closing this window. It says, are you nuts? I say, yes, I am. And then we're going to come back. And let's just leave that window selected. I want to show you what this looks like if I choose it as a spotlight. So it changes to a spotlight form like that. It's still a 300 watt bulb. I could change the kind of bulb that it is, as you know. But here's what I wanted to show you. There's a really nice little feature called fall off and hotspot. Hotspot, of course, is the area that the cone of light is concentrated on. I'm going to make that fairly narrow. And then the fall off, you see what happens to it there. And the fall off is kind of a wider cone that says there's a softer version of that, and it will blend between those two. So it's quite you got a lot of control here. Again, I'm just going to hit my scene 1. Let's go back and do another render and see what difference that makes. Still on low, still 800 by 600, green arrow. And it says, there's the old one. That's what the new one looks like. So I've got this really kind of nice soft light throughout the whole thing. It's still pretty dark. I would probably want to put about 6 of those lights in the ceiling in order to light a space like this, or maybe 8, but anyway, you see what I mean. So that hopefully gives you a clear sense of how to use the tools, the kinds of light, the point light and the spotlight, the wattage that are on there. You can do things like the fall off and the hot spot with the spotlight. So next video, what I'll do is talk about how do you put those into light fixtures and start to light your scene. Hope you're having some fun with this stuff. It's kind of cool.